The thing that you have to recognize, though, is that there is no pill that you can take. You're not going to just instantly get better. You didn't get into this situation with the flip of a switch, and you're not going to get out of it that easily either. What I really want to say is that it's okay for you to be in burnout. It's okay for you to feel that way. It's not okay for you to stay there for the rest of your life, but it is okay for you to stay there for as long as it takes.
Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Quiet Ones podcast. I know it's been a while, but it feels so nice to be back. I really hope that you're doing well. I know that a lot has changed since we've had a new episode out. And I just really wanted to, real quick, give you an update on me. In the last episode, I told you that I was sick for most of 2020. Thankfully, I'm doing a lot better now. I do have severe asthma now, which I've had asthma for the longest time, but I've spoken to, oh my goodness, probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 doctors, and trying to get it diagnosed and under control and just back to where I can have a decent quality of life and be able to breathe consistently. They said they're really not sure what happened, that maybe it was caused from whatever illness that I have had, whether it was COVID or not. They don't really know. Because, I had it before testing was available. So they're not really sure. It's super, super frustrating to go to the doctor and have them say, yeah, I really don't know, but here's a bill. So if you've ever been in that situation, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But through all of that, through all of 2020, the COVID mess, all of the stress and anxiousness about what happened with the elections in the United States, everything that was going on last year, it's really no wonder that I ended up in this massive state of burnout. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is burnout and how it's different for INFJs. I really have 2 modes. I have a go mode where I feel like I can just do anything and conquer the world. I genuinely believe that if I want to do something and I set my mind to do it, that I can accomplish it. I can figure it out. So in go mode, it's like I can do anything. But then burnout mode is exactly the opposite of that. It's like I can't do anything. I don't even want to move off of the couch. The thought of going to the grocery store is overwhelming. The thought of talking to somebody on the phone is just too much. Even to call one of my friends and ask for help, because I really don't even want to tell them how bad it is. It sounds like it's very similar to depression. And I was diagnosed with depression 5 or 6 years ago now. So I know what that feels like. And I'm very certain that I was in depression at that point. And maybe there are some elements of burnout that coincide with depression. But for INFJs, it's different because we soak things up differently. So it takes us a little bit more time to recover, and then we recover in different ways. So let's talk about first what causes burnout. Obviously, for me, 2020. I mean, I don't, I don't know how anybody made it through 2020 without feeling some kind of burnout, right? I feel like where I am in Massachusetts, in the United States, I live close to Boston. We were probably pretty moderate as far as the United States goes with lockdowns. It was, we were never forced to stay home. It's just that they shut most of everything down, so there really wasn't anything that you could do, you know. They have opened up pretty much everything now, even things like the arenas and Fenway Park, which is a baseball stadium. They're open now, and they're opening for bigger events, and they've calmed down a lot of their requirements about not singing in public, or that kind of stuff that I thought was kind of silly. But I mean, I'm sure they had a reason for it, right? But it seems like almost everything is opening up now, which is good. But even just the thought of not being able to go to the grocery store, or thinking that it might be dangerous for you and your family and your friends to go to the grocery store, that has a massive effect on you. And as INFJs, it takes us a while to identify our own feelings and our own emotions, right? So when the lockdowns first happened for me, I really wasn't that concerned about it. Not that I didn't take COVID seriously, I did. I was just more concerned about everybody else. I wasn't concerned about how I felt about it. I couldn't even tell you how I felt about it. And that's typical for INFJs. Any big event in our lives, anything that really should affect us emotionally, we have like a delayed response to it. It takes me sometimes 6 months to a year to process what's going on inside of me, and to be able to identify it, name it, and address it. Which seems, I hit burnout, I would say probably June or July. And that's not quite 6 months after the whole mess with COVID started, but it was 6 months after I got sick, because I got sick in January. So not only are we dealing with all of these emotions while not being able to tell what they are, but we're soaking up everybody else's emotions. And I don't know about you, but I had a lot of friends and family members who were panicked from the start. Some were more nonchalant, some were kind of in the middle, but some are like, I'm never leaving my house again. And here we are more than a year later, some of them still feel that way. And for me, it took me a while to realize that I was soaking all of that up. And I was going to the grocery store and seeing people like dressed up like they were in a biohazard area, and I was soaking all of that up too. All of that fear and confusion and uncertainty about the future, even though those weren't my own personal feelings, not all of them anyway, I was still soaking all of it up. And I didn't really know what to do with it. There was a time in the beginning where I really thought going to the grocery store was dangerous. I didn't have the capacity to be able to buy a month or 3 months or more worth of food. when the lockdown started, I lived in a studio apartment and I had not even a regular sized fridge. I had a mini fridge. So I barely had the space to store a week's worth of food. And the way that my checkbook works, that was all that I could afford. So I had to go to the grocery store every single week. I had I had to get out of the house because it was such a small space that I lived in that was like I can't just stay here 24/7. I mean, I would have been bedbound because I really couldn't move that much. There was no way to exercise. So I think that that was nice for me to force me to go out. And then after a few weeks, I realized there wasn't hardly anybody going out. I started going to Starbucks, and the only Starbucks that was open was a drive-through. And there were so many people there that you'd wait 30 minutes for Starbucks when, now that we're back to 30 seconds, which which is nice. But just the act of going out helped me. So, I mean, all of that combined, just that alone could cause burnout. But then there was more. We, as INFJs, also have a problem with sensory overload, right? I don't like going to concerts. Even pre-COVID, I didn't really like going to concerts because the music is extremely loud. There's tons of people, there's flashing lights, there's smoke, sometimes there's pyrotechnics, there's all of the people around and all of their emotions, and you just feel like you're bombarded. And any type of big place like a mall or a tourist attraction, anything like that has the same effect on me. I never really did a lot of video conferences prior to having to work from home because of COVID. But since then, that's become a normal thing for me. And I realized that video conferences kind of have that same stress effect because you can never jump on a video call where everything works the first time and everybody knows how to mute and unmute themselves. And there's not a dog barking or a cat that you can hear on somebody's microphone. There's always somebody's kids screaming. It's just, there's always this barrage of things. And then somebody's microphone doesn't work and it has this weird echo. And you're like, this is never ending. I think this is so terrible. But even all of those things and even little things in my apartment, like I have the air conditioner / heater in my apartment is, I think it's called a mini split, but it's this thing that sits on top of the wall and it makes a lot of noise. In fact, it makes this ticking noise that's like a constant ticking that's worse than a clock ticking. And the faster that you have the fan going, the faster it ticks. And for me, just something little like that wears on my nerves to the point where I just can't stand it. I would rather it be too cold or too hot in my apartment than have to listen to that type of thing. It's that highly sensitive aspect of my personality that just little things like that are too much. And then you throw in the trying to solve everybody else's problems. In a normal time, we as INFJs act as counselors to our friends and family. We just have this inherent ability to be able to see a bigger picture and help our friends and family solve their problems. And we want to do that because it's, we recognize that it's a talent that we have and we want to be able to help people. But nowadays it's a lot more because people have a lot more problems. Even now, like I said, most of my friends are scared about COVID. So talking to them involves processing all of those emotions that they have. And also, a lot of them don't want to talk in person. So it's going through the phone or the video conferencing software, which, like we just discussed, has a lot of issues. And then you combine that with everything else that we've talked about, it's really crazy. And for me, one of the ways that I like to deal or not deal with all of these things is I get hyper focused on work. So I have a job that I work during the day, and then I have my blog and podcast. I've started 3 or 4 other blogs. I have email lists, and I actually have another podcast too. So there's tons of stuff for me to do. And when I want to avoid something, I can just immerse myself in work. And if I don't have enough work, I can just create some more. It's a wonderful distraction, but in the long run, it really only adds to the problem. It's just one more thing for me to worry about.
Want to learn more about the INFJ personality? Check out my book, The INFJ User Guide. It covers every question you have about INFJs. It talks about preferences, functions, strengths, weaknesses, communication, relationships, how to find your purpose specifically for an INFJ, and what kind of career is best for INFJs. Get your copy today at infjwoman.com/book. There's a link in the video description.
So I think the biggest question that we all have is, how do you get over burnout? How do you get out of that feeling? And I know that for me, I want to know how to get out of it right now. When I recognize that I'm in that feeling, and and you know, I don't want to be there anymore. So it's like, how do I do it today? What's the fastest way? Is there some kind of pill that I could take? Is there something that I can listen to? Is there something that I need to eat that will make me feel better? Whatever it is, like, what can I do that's going to fix the problem, like, right this second? Obviously, there's a lot of basic advice out there. People are going to say self-care, make sure that you're getting plenty of rest, exercise, take your vitamins, make sure that you're getting sunshine. All of that is important. And if you're doing those things, you should get better. They're not a pill that you can take that's going to flip a switch and you're going to instantly be better. That's more of a long-term solution, right? The thing that you have to recognize, though, is that there is no pill that you can take. You're not going to just instantly get better. You didn't get into this situation with the flip of a switch, and you're not going to get out of it that easily either. What I really want to say is that it's okay for you to be in burnout. It's okay for you to feel that way. It's not okay for you to stay there for the rest of your life, but it is okay for you to stay there for as long as it takes. Now, I'm sure that you want to know, like, how long does it take? How long does it take to get better? How long does it take to recover? And unfortunately, the answer is it just takes as long as it takes. Some people, it takes a couple of weeks. Some people, it takes a couple of months. For some people, it might take a couple of years. For me, I started feeling this way probably, like I said, June or July. I just really had to put everything down that I was doing and just stop all of it, because I got so overwhelmed that I just couldn't do any of it anymore. And I really didn't start feeling better until, I would say, February or March, maybe. And even now, there are times where I'm like, okay, is this too much? Because I certainly don't want to get back into the burnout stage, but I also don't want to be in the overworking stage either. So it kind of, it just takes as long as it takes. And when you're in that stage of total burnout where you just feel like I can't do anything, that's the time that it's most important to take care of yourself and to do the things that you need to do to feel okay in the moment. And if that means that you need to lay on the couch for 5 or 6 hours a day, if that means that you need to sleep for longer than what you're sleeping, or that there's certain food that makes you feel better, then you should definitely do all of those things. Remember that it's a temporary place. You're not going to be here for the rest of your life. You will feel better at some point. There is hope. And once you start feeling better, you may have to push yourself a little bit out of it, because those types of habits of staying on the couch and eating all the good food and sleeping longer than usual, they're really easy to become to it's really easy for those things to become habits, to where you're just like, well, I feel like I should do something else, but I just don't want to. It's so comfortable on the couch. And I have my pillows and my blankets and my M&Ms, and I'm good to go here. But you need to really listen to your intuition, because your intuition will tell you, okay, it's time to go. Like, it's time to do something else. There's other work for you to do. There's people out there that you need to help. You're getting better, you're healing. And at that stage, you need to push yourself out of it a little bit. And then, get back to your go mode of conquering the world. And also be mindful of how much you're taking on, and recognize that what you took on before was too much, and to do a little bit better job of setting boundaries this time. There is a blog post that I wrote about my experience on my website, so make sure that you go check it out. I will put a link for it in the show notes. I also had a few emails that came through after I posted that blog post, so I wanted to read you some of them. Mainly just so you know that you're not alone. There are other INFJs out there who feel the same thing, and it's totally and completely fine. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing really that you need to change about yourself. Obviously, you can't change your personality. But I know that it does help when other people say, me too. I relate. I do the same thing. Okay, the first one, I didn't write down who it was from, so I apologize if it was from you. I forgot to write it down. Okay, it says, "We missed you. I'm glad you're doing well now. I totally understand with the fact that you handle too many things by yourself, and I'm struggling with it too. I'm a college student and aspiring content creator or filmmaker, basically a person who wants to try and do way too many things, but don't know how yet. I mostly never reply to any subscription emails, but yours felt very personal, even with the fact that you said it in plural form. I hope you're doing well, and I would love the Q&A on Instagram stories you used to do. It was fun, to be honest." Thank you so much for your email. I am thinking about bringing back that Q&A. That's another one of the things that's on my list, so hopefully soon. Okay, so the next one is from Jenny. She says, "I can relate so damn much. I'm glad you took some time to yourself and are refreshed. I love everything you post about. It's such a comfort to know I'm not alone in the world." Thank you. The next one is from Praise. "It is great meeting women who face similar challenges to the ones that I do. Happy to hear from you, and thank you for taking the time to impact our lives." And the next one, I don't know if I know how to pronounce that. It's probably going to be wrong, but I would say maybe Aki. It says, "Oh, how familiar. I hit the wall in December, and now, due to the sunny weather, I'm starting to feel a bit better. I also binge watched everything on Netflix. I just recently began to see that I regularly have these darker phases in the year where I have these blackouts, and started wondering if it was depression or hormonal. But reading your mail made me feel different. But reading your mail made me feel better in some strange way. I am not the only one. But I do feel bad about shutting people out in these blackouts. How does your family or friends react to this behavior? Do they accept it or even help you snap out of it? Do you feel you lose friendships because of it? Anyway, good to hear you are coming out of the tunnel and feeling better." Um, my family, I think they kind of understand that that's how I operate. Um, I don't live very close to my family, so even through these periods, I still call them on a weekly basis usually. So nothing really changes in that regard. My friends probably feel the brunt of it. With the COVID situation, a lot of my friends weren't available or up for going out and doing things together anyway. So it was probably less impactful this time. I have lost friendships in the past because of it, because they just don't understand. But what I've realized, and even when it starts, I usually don't recognize what it is, even now. So it's difficult for me to be able to reach out to my friends and say, hey, I just need some time, you know, although I do suggest that's what you do. Most of my friends now understand because the ones that have stuck with me, they know the cycle. And a lot of them go through the same type of cycles. Um, I always make an effort when I come out of something like that to reach out to my friends and to reassure them. I had one of my friends this time, one who I've been friends with for more than 10 years. She said to me something like, I'm not trying to be rude. I just really want to know if you still want to be my friend. I know it's been a while since we've talked and it seems to be inconsistent and I'm just not sure. And she basically said, I'm making all the effort here. Like, what are you doing? And so I made a big effort to tell her how much I appreciated her making all of the effort and how we wouldn't be friends if she didn't keep reaching out to me and keep bugging me, basically. And that I really appreciated that. So I think that goes a long way as well. Okay, so there's one more, and this one is from Alyssa. It says, so happy to be able to read your latest blog post. And it's right on. I hate when I'm not in go mode because I'm so used to being able to do so much. I know self-care is important and I constantly practiced, but I tend to get stuck in the work, school, relationship cycle. I also feel like people don't always understand the sensory overload and why I disappear, which tends to make me feel guiltier for putting up the wall. I'm glad to know that I'm not alone, and I'm hopeful that you take the time you need to get back to doing what you do best. Thank you so much for your notes. Every single person who sent me a note, I really, really appreciate it. It means the world to me. If you're not getting my emails, make sure that you sign up. There is a link in the show notes. You can also go to infjwoman.com/newsletter and you can sign up there. There is a free guide about finding your purpose that I'll send to you if you sign up. And then I usually do emails once a week, usually on Mondays. So make sure that you do. I am so excited to be back with this podcast. A lot of you have reached out to me and told me that you loved the show and that you were disappointed it was gone. So I'm happy to be able to bring it back. And I can't wait for these next, including this episode. There should be 10 episodes that come out. And there's a lot of amazing information that I have to share with you. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. I think it's available pretty much everywhere. And you can also check out the videos on YouTube at youtube.com/INFJwoman. We will see you again next week.
So you just watched that video, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.